Okay, it's riding season. Time to go. Burn some gas. Here's what I generally do before I head out. On the Ventures, well, pretty much on any bike with a petcock, first thing you want to do is make the bike fit you. You want to make sure that you can work the levers without having your hands up at a weird angle or they're too low like they would work if you were standing up. You want to make the bike fit you. And to have more leverage on these levers, you can loosen this handlebar clamp and slide the master cylinder somewhat, just so that the bar here does not strike this housing or the grip, as you can see there, so that your hand is out on the end of the lever instead of choked up near the pivot. And make sure they're clean and greased with white lithium grease. It makes it a lot easier. When I bought this bike, one of them has bronze or brass bushings in there. This one, that was worn. I had to take it. They didn't have one at the Yamaha shop, so I had to dress that one up with a file to get it smooth again. But anyway, so make your controls fit you and learn where everything is. Your petcock is straight down from the gas cap. If you run out of gas on the highway 70 mile an hour, you're being tailgated and your bike starts to sputter, you don't want to have to look for your petcock visually. So that's how I remember. It is straight over from the gas cap, and reserve is up on this. It can be in many positions with many bikes, but on the Ventures it's up. See, it says reserve, RES. Okay, so you make your controls fit you. Learn where all your controls are. If you have a machine that does not have self-canceling turn signals, get in the habit of tapping that button all the time, because someone coming at you from the other, opposite direction, and if you have your turn signal on, they may assume you're going to turn before you get to them, and they will turn left in front of you. That is the highest incidence of collisions between motorcycles and automobiles and trucks, is violation of the motorcyclist right of way. And a lot of times that probably is caused by people that don't know they have their turn signal on. Now this machine has self-canceling turn signals, but a lot of bikes don't. So get in the habit of, while you're riding, just tap that. Tap it to make sure it's not on. During the day, I like to ride with the high beam on. You can't be too visible. Okay, on this side, what do we have? The starter and the cruise control. Same deal over here. I don't like to have a lot of play in my throttle cable. It interferes with clean, crisp downshifting. I just added these electric heated grips. They are nice. They are actually, I turned them on. It took them about 10 minutes to get up to full speed. And when I did, whoa, they do work. And I turned them off. And they stayed hot for about 10 or 15 minutes. I thought, are they still on? But anyway, these are Show Chrome brand grips. I had to file down the plastic throttle tube that connects to the throttle cables to get that on. Now, a lot of people say that you want to use glue to put the grips on. This one went right on. It was actually loose. But what I've been doing for years, it's an old trick, is I use hairspray or hair mousse. And this one I have on with hair mousse. It's on there. So you don't have to go out and buy grip glue. I explained in another video, don't get in the habit of using this That's just for emergencies, because there's many locations for ignition switches. Some of them are down here, some of them are up front, some of them were in the headlight nacelle. You don't know where they are. So emergency responders, when they come along, your bike's laying there revving or still running on its side, not getting oil, they all know that the kill switch is right there on the right throttle, on the right handlebar. So only use that in emergency. Because if you pull up and shut it off, and you get distracted and it's a sunny day and you don't realize your headlight's on, your key is still on. And you go inside and you may be done for the day, and you come out the next morning, your battery's dead because you left the key on, because you shut the engine off using that. So don't get into that habit. That's just for emergencies. What else? When you have keys, don't have every key you own on a big key ring. That is tough on the ignition switch, and those keys are banging around, beating the paint off of everything. I have just this strap on here. I put my belt through the strap and I stick the key in my pocket. That's all I have is one key. And when you put the key in, don't put it in and drive it in like you're driving a nail, because these rotary switches, they're kind of like a sandwich, the bread, the meat, you know. Okay, when you push it in and it bottoms out, it can start to separate the ignition switch. I had that happen on my Moto Guzzi one time. I was driving home from the National Rally by myself at night, and my dash lights, charging lights started coming on, and oh geez, you know, I'm 200 miles from home, and now I'm going to have an electrical problem. And it turned out to be the ignition switch started separating because it was just metal with little cleats bent over at the bottom holding it together, and my pushing the key in too hard just separated that. So don't beat your key up. Okay, so you got your controls where they're comfortable for you to work with your eyes closed, you know, when you're sitting on the bike setting everything up. All right, and you know where the petcock is. All right, and you don't have a lot of keys on there. All right, and you're going to check your turn signal. All right, use your horn. You see somebody about to turn, or someone about to get out of their car ahead, or someone that you think may pull out of their driveway, to hell with bothering them. Hit that horn, let them know you're there, because they're looking up and down the street. They're looking for a bus, they're looking for a car, they're looking for a truck. They're not subconsciously looking for a motorcycle all the time. So let them know you're there. I am not shy about using my horns. Okay, what do I have next? All right, so you have, make the bike fit you. To make the bike fit you, you want to have your shifter just high enough that you're not touching it while your foot's on the foot peg. You don't want to have it so high that you have to lift your foot to shift. And you do that by adjusting this bolt, the linkage. And remember to keep 90-degree angles at your linkage. That's when you have the optimum leverage. And it's not a bad idea to keep these pivots lubed. But set your shifter up so you don't have to lift your foot up, and the same goes for the rear brake. This is a little different. When you have floorboards, you almost have to lift your foot up a little bit off the floorboards, but make them, adjust them so that you don't have to take your foot up in the air. That gets a little tiring after a long day. Okay. Where reserve is, use your horns. Foot brake, foot shifter. I'm reading my cheat sheet here so I don't forget anything. What else do I have when I get on the machine? Make sure you have, of course, you have enough gas. When you turn your key on, make sure you don't have any idiot lights on. Make sure your brakes work, especially your brake light works, and your turn signals. Make sure you don't have any, see, that was open. Make sure you don't have any, that one's open too. Make sure you don't have any lids open I did that once on KLR 650 I had with the military equipment cases. And I had it latched, but I didn't have the binders locked in. And that door opened. Everything fell out. So secure your cargo. And make sure you, of course, have all your riding gear on. But you know what? See, look, I left my key on. Accessory. Now, if I had it out in the driveway, I would not have seen that because it's so bright. I have to get back into the swing of the season. It's just winter. It's, what is it, April 12th? But anyway, of course, make sure your tires are up to pressure. And, you know, make sure your oil is up high enough. I changed my oil just before I put the bike away for winter so that it didn't sit in there. I don't know if it's true or not, but, you know, as soon as gasoline hits the oil, as soon as they meet, that oil starts to decompose, not decompose, but degrade. And it's only new one time when it's in the bottle, but once it meets gasoline, it starts to denature or degrade, whatever. So it's not good to let old oil sit in your engine all winter. So I changed it before I parked the bike for the year. Okay, what else can I tell you? Why is that? See, I left it on again because that was on. My radio control, which I could do without. I'm thinking of taking this off. I've had, this is my third venture, and I had the BMW for a while and the Goldwing up until last June. And on all those machines, I never listened to the radio for more than 5 minutes. I just don't care. My first venture had a radio that was mounted in the side panel here on the fairing, and you could take it out with a key, with the ignition key. And I took that, and it came with a cover from the factory to cover that hole that you used to have the radio in. And I took that radio out and I put it in my cabinet here, and it sat in there for 16 years. I actually had to look for it when I sold the machine. Anyway, I'm going to make a video here on taking care of your boots. I dug some of them out. And these boots have hundreds of thousands of miles on them. These were my commuter boots. My old road racing boots, 8 years, made in Italy, resold twice. Giacomo Agostini cut his heels like that so he could hang his foot off the high foot pegs and feel the ground with his toes. But these have 8 seasons. 10% of the time it rained, and I was in a 24-hour race that it rained the whole time. 4 riders, 7 mechanics. My feet were purple after the end of that. I'm going to do a video on how to clean your boots. This may be the end for these. These were my commuters. I'm going to glue them back on and see what happens, just for old time's sake. I've even replaced the zippers in them and the Velcro. The shift patches are worn out. I'm going to have to glue leather on there. I had to replace the leather patch on my best boots, the Bates. Where's the other one? Here's my Bates Made in USA boots. These are above the quality of all these other boots. And I was a little pissed off. You see how I had to glue a new leather patch on there because my Kawasaki Z400 wore a hole in the patch. When you ride a motorcycle for a long time, you have to be proficient at repairing leather and shoes and sewing zippers in, things like that. Well, you could take them to a shoemaker, I guess, to do the zippers. But I'm going to do a video on using saddle soap on those. Anyway, I hope you wear motorcycle boots and no shoes with laces. The shoes with laces can get wrapped around your shifter your kickstand, when you go to put your foot down and you can't get it down and you've already initiated the motion to rotate the bike over towards whatever, to the kickstand, good luck. And for beginners, you always get on a horse and a motorcycle from the left side. To the side the machine's kickstand is on. Get into that habit. Can always tell a rookie when they're trying to get on from the high side on a motorcycle. Okay, anything else? I made a cheat sheet here. Give me a second to look and see what I forgot. Oh yes, look under your machine as you're walking up to it in the garage or wherever for leaks. You don't know if a needle and seat stuck, or if you've sprung an oil leak, or an antifreeze leak, or a hydraulic fluid leak, or your final drive's leaking, or a brake fluid leak. Always check. And if you don't have if you have a floor that's not really clean, or it's tough to tell, or it has oil all over it, you can clean your floor with kitty litter. Just, the oil spills. I keep a little cottage cheese container full of kitty litter. I don't have any damn cats, but I won't go into that. We had 18 cats here at one time. You feed one and then they have litters. But anyway, you want to use kitty litter to clean up any spills. And if you have a brake fluid spill, you do not want to wipe up the spill or the drip and keep that rag around. You want to treat that rag like it has poison ivy on it. You want to throw it in the trash immediately, because I one time dabbed up some brake fluid and I was putting a caliper on my wife's car. And I had a rag and I dabbed it up, and then I put that rag up on my wife's fender. The next day, the paint was gone from where I had that rag. Brake fluid goes right, it destroys paint. So be very careful with brake fluid. I always keep a roll of paper towels ready and a garbage can when I'm working on anything, like when I'm doing a brake bleed job on this. Whenever I bleed brakes on motorcycles, I don't send, see how nice and clean my brake fluid is? It's clear. Whenever I change brake fluid, you want to take this cap off, and I use a vacuum bleeder. My vacuum bleeder's in one of those cases over there beside the vise. But I will suck the old brake fluid out of there. It doesn't suck the brake fluid into a gun. It sucks the brake fluid into a container that the brake fluid, the pump is actually sucking the air out of the bottle. It's not sucking the air directly out of here. So you almost need 3 hands to do this job. So you suck all the old brake fluid out. Then you refill it and put this cap back on, even if you just set it there, because if you pull on this lever with that cap off, it shoots out of there. But when you use one of those brake bleeders, you put the hose on the end here, you crack the bleeder, you put a vacuum on the gun, the brake fluid, the suction machine. You just, pump it up a few times, then you crack the bleeder and it will suck the brake fluid out. And as soon as you see the color change in the bottle, then you close the bleeder and you're done. Refill the master cylinder and don't overfill it. And when you go to put new brakes on your car or your motorcycle, you don't want to fill this all the way up, because when you have to push the pistons back, it will overflow. And when you're done working on any brakes, pump the brakes up, pump them up to push the brake pads back towards the rotor. I know a guy that actually drove a customer's car through the wall of the garage. It was up on the rack. He changed the brakes. He got in the car. He put it in reverse. He hit the gas and he had no brakes. He went right through the wall of the gas station. So when you get on your bike, as well as checking your brake light, like you can stand over here and tap your brake light to make sure that it's working. That's probably the most important one to check. Of course, they all should work. But you want to feel to make sure that they work when you first get on the bike. Make sure you have clutch pressure. What else? On some bikes, I drill a hole in this filler cap. Here, I did it on my Kowalski here. And I zip tied it so I don't lose it, and so nobody plays any tricks on me. I just thought of that now. There really isn't a lot of places for me to put a zip tie on this too, though. But I'll figure something out. Okay, what else can I tell you? When you do your windshield, I use this Honda spray detailer. That is their #1 highest selling item in their whole inventory, from cars down to spark plugs. They sell more of that than anything. You want to spray it on. If you have any dead bugs on there, you want to put a little extra on there and work it just a little bit. Only use cotton or microfiber to clean your windshield. And when you do spray it, you want to make sure you get the whole thing covered. Do one initial wipe and then flip the rag over. You don't want to grind anything that you've picked up on the rag back in. You just want to do one initial wipe, then flip the rag over and continue to smooth polish it out. But never, never, never use paper towels on your glasses, your sunglasses, your windshield, or your face shield. Let's see, what else can I think of here that you might be interested in? When you have your toolkit, the toolkit on this bike, I just updated my toolkit. It's under this floor mat in here. I've gone through my toolkit and I've upgraded certain tools and I've added certain tools. Like, it's not a bad idea to carry 10 feet of wire. You never know when you might have to wire something on after a tip over. It doesn't take up much room. Throw some zip ties in there. You know, maybe 6, 8, 10 zip ties. You never know when they're gonna come in handy. But go make sure when you do maintenance on your bike, if you don't have a lot of tools, make sure you do it with your toolkit tools, so you see how useless they are, and you will upgrade your tools. My toolbox over here, I've got so many toolkit tools in. This is my junk stuff toolbox, but like these, they're junk. Different toolkit wrenches, you know. Sometimes they come in handy, but they're usually Neanderthal type tools, very big, you know, and they're usually open and they're not 6-point or 4 corners. I mean, look at that. That's a spoke wrench, but that's pretty old stove bolt technology they put into that. The toolkit tools really aren't that good. Like, look at the screwdriver. You know, that's pretty cheap. You want to have a good sharp screwdriver, and you want to have a number 2 and a number 3. And you want to go over your bike and see, well, I got to make sure I have that size Allen wrench. They generally come in the toolkit, but there's going to be other places on your bike where you're going to need, like on these bikes, the most common size is 8mm, 10mm, 12mm. it used to be on Yamahas and Kawasaki's, it was 8, not even 8, it was 10, 12, 13, 17, sometimes 14 and 17. And you want to make sure that your toolkit can handle little jobs like tightening this up. You want to make sure you have wire strippers. It's a really good idea to carry one of those Leatherman type multi-tools. And I'll tell you what else comes in really handy is a pair of scissors. It just does. Like when you're trimming something, gasket, or I like to use them for, I use them all the time. I use them to open my mail. I'm tired of fighting with plastic anymore on containers. You know, like even a box of cereal, you try to rip that inner bag in the cereal box. They're tough. They've really come a long way and made those plastics these days indestructible. So I don't fight with them anymore. I always carry a knife for opening little things like the little ketchup packets when you go to Burger King. You go to bite them and you can't open them, so I just use a knife. And scissors come in very handy when you're traveling. You can get some multi-tools, or I carry a Swiss Army knife, and you know, with a can opener. And I'll tell you another good thing to carry besides a can opener and a Swiss Army knife and a multi-tool: a lighter. I had friends that got stuck in hopeless gas tank deep mud in a play area where we used to ride in Ohio. I started riding there in 1997. I still have not covered the place yet. I only had enough gas to go maybe, 10 miles, 15 miles into that wonderful play area just south of Wellsville, Ohio. East Liverpool, south of East Liverpool, Ohio. It's called Wellsville. Look at the videos on YouTube of some of those crazies there with their quads going up those cliffs so high above Route 7 along the river there that you could not even possibly talk to somebody that's down on the road and their quads tumble down that hill. Anyway, they got stuck in the woods overnight, stuck in the mud, and they were probably about 10 miles in. And the one thing they said they wished they had was a lighter to light. He even took gas out, and he didn't have a spark plug wrench, so he couldn't make a spark with his spark plug to light some gas to light a fire. And they were wet and they were stuck in the woods, so it's not a bad idea to carry. You might get stuck in a rainstorm, and you might get soaked, and it might be too bad for you to drive, and you might want to pull over somewhere and just start a fire to dry out. But anyway, and talking about drying out and getting caught in the rain, I like my rain suits are parked in there. I have some other old rain suits here. These rain suits, this one has lots of miles on it. That reflective material's coming off. This feels like rubber almost, and it's lined with sort of like a nylon, and it's two-piece. That's what I recommend. I've had one piece. Here's the pant. No, that's it's another rain suit. Where's the pants? Pants are hanging up inside of it. Black pants. And I've noticed that if you put the pants on backwards, the stirrups work better. Every rain suit I have, I think I've gone through about 10 rain suits. They work better if you turn them around and get them in a large size. Don't buy your size. Go 1 or 2 sizes bigger, because when you're trying to put a rain suit on and your leather is wet, if you get caught in the rain for, a mile before you can pull over, which is just a minute, it's 60 miles an hour, and you go to put your rain suit on. If it's one piece, good luck. If it's the right size or just perfectly fits you and it's wet, good luck trying to get a one-piece rain suit on. I like the two-piece rain suits. You can get them on and off a lot easier when you're wet. And I think they're more comfortable. And whenever you do, carry your rain suit. Don't put it in a plastic bag. Put it in a sock. Because if you put that in a plastic bag, that's going to start to get moldy and stinky. If you keep it in a sock, the sock will absorb any moisture and it can breathe and it can have a chance to dry. And then when you get home, of course, you want to hang it out in the sun. But don't buy a cheap rain suit. And I don't like the one-piece rain suits. I like the two-piece, just for the fact that you can get them on and off a lot easier and buy them much larger. Like if you take a large, buy a double extra large, because when you're trying to put it on over your jacket, it's tough. Because when it rains, you want to get that thing on. Okay, what else can I think of here? I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna do a video on doing my boots and show you how to take care of the leather. I have one pair of boots there that I've had since 1973. My made in Italy Giacomo Agostini boots. And what are the best boots I've ever had? Without a doubt. Not even close. The Bates boots. They are lined with lighter colors. When you have boots that have black, they're dye, they're not lined, okay? When they get wet, or just from sweating, it turns your socks or whatever you have tucked in. I ride with my stuff tucked in unless it's really hot. It turns it black. Whereas if you have boots that have, they're lined with leather, they breathe, and they don't dye your socks. I'll get into boots later. You want road racing boots. They're made so that your foot's at this angle on the foot peg. If you want standard touring boots, you want a boot that's straight up and down, because that's the position your foot's in most of the time. So, you don't want to buy touring boots if you have a sport bike that your foot's in this position on the foot peg. But I'll get into that later. Anyway, I hope maybe somebody picked up one little thing from my video, and I'll see you out there.